We're T-minus 18 seconds from liftoff. We're T-minus 15 seconds.
Would you and your men please follow me?
Jerry, what the hell is this? This is an emergency. Please follow me, now!
T-minus 10 seconds. 9, 8. We have ignition. 6, 5. We have outboard engines. 3. We have inboard engines. 1, 0. We have a launch commit. We have a liftoff at 35 minutes after the hour.
Every split second of this historic flight, every intimate detail, every heartbeat was monitored by Mission Control in Houston.
This is Capricorn One. We have landed.
As millions all over the world watched and listened, the President of the United States spoke to the astronauts across the vastness of space.
To the men of Capricorn One, I bring you greetings from your fellow Americans.
There's only one small catch. It never happened. It's all a lie, a fantastic $30 billion hoax.
Something's wrong, and I don't know what it is.
Dig deep enough, you might uncover the truth.
Those signals couldn't have come from 300 miles.
But the odds are you'll never live to tell it.
Freeze!
I'm not moving an inch.
They're on the plane together! There's a device. It's on the plane. There's some people. If I don't get them the all-clear signal, they'll explode it.
Something's wrong. Something big. They know I'm onto it, and they try to kill me. Who's they? I can't tell you.
We are dead.
You tell me you're in trouble, you're out on bail, you just got fired, I tell you I'll be right over.
My head hurts.
You look awful.
Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
These people are capable of anything.
You sound so close. It's hard to believe you really are that far away in space.
It's hard for me to believe it, too.
You're up to something. You want my help.
It's gotten out of control. It's too big.
Capricorn One, this is Houston. Capricorn One, we show red on the heat shield. Capricorn One, this is Houston. We show red on the heat shield. Do you read?
Pull that lever down by your feet when I tell you, Sonny.
Capricorn One, the mission that never got off the ground.
Right, hey up, it's Steve from that old Yorkshire Geek. And as you saw from that trailer, that was Capricorn One. A cool film from 1977. I always thought it was 78, but it's 77. From director Peter Hyams. So let me get rid of that. Get rid of that. There we go. Right, bear with me. Bear with me. Right, we're off. Right, so yes, Capricorn One. A conspiracy thriller. It's like a sci-fi conspiracy thriller, but it's more conspiracy than sci-fi, I suppose. It's about a mission to Mars, so that's the sci-fi aspect of it. But you know, it ends up getting hoaxed, and this is a lot of people credit this film as starting the Apollo hoax theories that are still popular to this very day. A lot of people still think we never went to the moon. I'm not one of them. I think we went to the moon. I think some of the pictures have been touched up and faffed about with to make them look better, and maybe some of them have just been outright faked. Some of the images, but I think we did go. I think we did go to the moon several times, 6 times in all. And I think we've probably been more times, you know, putting my own tinfoil hat on, I think we've probably been more times than we know. I'm one of these people that thinks there's probably permanent bases on the moon, top secret ones that nobody knows about. On the far side, that's what I think. But anyway, but that's another story for another day. Anyway, this is Capricorn One, about a mission to Mars using moon rockets. It wouldn't work, would it? But never mind. Right, some info on the film. Right, as I said, 1977, written and directed by Peter Hyams, who you may know from such films as, oh God, I can't remember, 2010, the year we make contact, the sequel to 2001. What else is it? It's done loads of stuff. Outland. What else? Oh God, my brain stopped working. The Relic, a bit of a monster movie, which is pretty good. Let's have a look. What else? Hang on, I'm getting his thingamabob, his film. What do they call it? Filmography. That's it. The Presidio is done. Time Cop. The Jean-Claude Van Damme film. He did that as well. And End of Days, which we covered on a Friday night appointment with Fear around New Year's, around last New Year. End of Days, and he's done loads of others, and he hasn't done a great deal recently, to be completely honest. His last film was in 2013 called Enemies Closer. Never heard of it. And the latest thing he's done was in 2020 for television, an episode, narrated an episode called or a program or whatever called Airlines of the World, the episode American Airlines. He narrated that. The last thing he directed was an episode of Threshold on TV in 2005. But the last movie he directed was Enemies Closer, which I've never heard of. Let's have a look. What's that? It's an American thriller film. And it's a Jean-Claude Van Damme film. Although I've never heard of it. I'm not a huge Jean-Claude Van Damme film, although I do like Universal Soldier and Time Cop. But there we go. And Bloodsport, quite like that as well. Right, at the budget of I think $5 million. Yes, and its box office was 12 million. I suppose it did okay back in the day. It wasn't a huge success. It's got a bit of a cult following, and everybody seems to know it. One of those films that everybody seems to know. Wingray says, I don't think I've seen any of the 2001 sequels now that you mention it. I think they only did that one, didn't they, 2010? I don't think they've done any more. There's plenty of books, though, isn't there? I don't know how many books there is. There were 20, 2001, and then 2010, and then there were the 2050 or something like 2060 or something like that, weren't there? And then there was like a 3001 book, weren't there? I've not read them. I've not read any of them, to be honest. I've read the short story that 2001 were based on, The Sentinel, by Arthur C. Clarke, which is not bad. It's not bad. It's nothing like the film. But I've not read any of the books, but I've seen the films, and I think they're cool. Winger says, "Yeah, I have the books. Just can't assume they made them all, unless they're quality films. No, they've only done 2010. And 2010's a good film in a lot of ways. I think 2010 is better than 2001 because it's not as arty-farty, and it tells you stuff. It lets you know. It tells you why Hal malfunctioned. It didn't malfunction, and we learn a little bit more about the aliens in it, but it's a bit more straightforward than 2001. But it's a cool film, and you never know, we may cover it one day. We could even do a double bill, couldn't we? God, that'd be a long one. That would be banal. Anyway, right, so is that it? Is that all we're saying? Yes, and it's a 2-hour film. It stars Elliott Gould, James Brolin, Brenda Vaccaro, Sam Waterston, O.J. Simpson before he became a felon, Hal Holbrook, Karen Black, Telly and Telly Savalas. Karen Black and Telly Savalas get their names in the credits in little red boxes for some reason. I don't know why. Must have been in the contract. And many, many more. Lots of other faces that you'll think, I know them from TV. Lots of TV faces in like Barbara Bosson and James B. Sicking and Alan Fudge and people like that. We think, I know them. Hill Street Blues people, a lot of them seem to be. But anyway, right. Yes, he just Hal functioned. Yes, he did. Elliott Gould. They should do that, shouldn't they? They should ask him to guest star in any new Stargate. He's still around, isn't it? He's still around. Is Elliott Gould? Is he? I don't know. Let's check. Yes, he is. It says is an American actor, so he's not popped his clogs yet. Is he married to Barbara Streisand, isn't he? Is he? Hang on, let me check. Oh no, he was. He was married to Barbara Streisand, but not anymore. I thought he still was, but he ain't. Right. Anyway, whatever. Right. Let's get on with the film, shall we? Let's get on with it. So let me get it ready. Let me get it sorted. Before we start, don't forget, like and subscribe, share the videos, drop a comment, hit the notification bell if you're subscribed already. We're live on, I just double check, we're live on YouTube. Oh, wait, that's it. We're live on YouTube, and we're live on Rumble. Yes, we are. And we're live on Twitch. Yes, we're live on Twitch as well. There we go. Later on, I'll upload it to Spotify, Amazon Music Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. I'm also on Facebook, X, and Instagram. So if you want to send me a message or whatever, that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. What am I picking this up for? Don't know. Oh, yes, I'm moving it out of the way. Sorry, it's just me Capricorn One DVD. I haven't got the Blu-ray. Just got the DVD. Links are in the description for all that stuff, as are the links for my 2 books, Silent Predator, short horror novella about big cats eating people, Mercury Rapids, light-hearted sci-fi action adventure about UFOs and stuff. Right, let's get on with the film. I'll make myself titchy tiny down there in the corner, and we'll look at Spacer for a minute just while I get that up. There we go. A blank screen. I thought I had a dead pixel on me on my screen, but it's gone now, so I mustn't have done it. Must have been an artifact. Right, off we go. Right, then cool music, by the way, in this film by Jerry Goldsmith, the late great Jerry Goldsmith. Comes straight on. In fact, you know what the hell? Right, I'm going to unmute it. And we'll have a listen, because it is cool music when it comes on. It just bang, it's on. The film begins. Sounds better if you've got decent speakers. Right, anyway, there you go. A Peter Hyams film. Shush. Right, off we go. Brenda Vaccaro, and it goes through Elliott Gould, James Brolin, blah, blah, blah. Brenda Vaccaro with her amazing husky voice, got a really sexy voice. Capricorn One, and it tells us in that as well for some reason. Yes, 1977. Why did I think 78? Don't know, because I'm an idiot. Right, the rest of people. Hey, Karen Black, she's in a red box for some reason, and so is Terry Savalas. Best player. Right, special appearances in red boxes. Does that mean they get more points or whatever? I don't know what points are. They talk about it, don't they, in Hollywood, in the contract, and I want more points. Does that mean money? I've no idea. Music by Jerry Goldsmith. Just, what was it, a year after he won an Oscar for The Omen. There we go. And there's actually a bit in this. I think it's quite near the end. There's a musical cue in it that's very... It could have been taken out, The Omen. But anyway, never mind. Right, January 4th, we hear a voiceover, there we go, of like a chap at, Paul Cunningham. I wonder if he's related to Richie, don't know. But at NASA, telling us, all about what's going on. There's going to be, there we go, a rocket launch from Launch Complex 39, which is still in use. I think SpaceX launched from there now. Their Falcon rockets, Falcon 9s. I think they're launched from 39, which is where they launched the Apollo moon shots from. And as you can see, that's obviously a Saturn V rocket, which wouldn't get. I don't think it'd get you to Mars. It just about got them to the moon and back, didn't it? It wouldn't get you to Mars, but never mind. It's a fantasy, or is it? Anyway, so we're hearing all about lots of technical stuff. It's all really well done, by the way, all this technical jargon. As I said, it was written by Peter Hyams. And Josh is here. Joshua Canuck is here. Oops. Yes, there he is. Hey, peeps. Easy. You were missed last week. Oh, whatever you missed. What did you miss? Was it Friday Night Appointment with Fear? You were missed anyway. Where were we? Peter Hyams. He wrote this script. He actually wrote it right after man landed on the moon in 1969. Yes, man did land on the moon in 1969. He wrote it right after that thing because it was obviously in his mind that it could be faked. Because I think he'd seen, what did I see it on now? I saw it wasn't a documentary. I've not seen a making of Capricorn One because there isn't anything on my bloody DVD. All there's on here is a trailer and that's it. So I haven't seen a making of, but I've seen it somewhere. It must be on YouTube with Peter Hyams talking. And he says they were watching an interview with somebody. I think he said Walter Cronkite were doing the interview. And they were showing basically like training footage of the astronauts. And they said that it looked like the actual footage that we saw from the moon. And it got him thinking that, could they have staged it at all? He says he doesn't believe that they did, but he thinks, if they try and pass it off as real, most people will believe it, which is probably true, to be completely honest. And there are some things that I look at and I think sometimes I look at the moon footage, the Apollo footage, particularly when they're flying over the moon, and I'm thinking, that doesn't look real. The moon in the distance, orbiting underneath, the ship orbiting over the moon. Sometimes that moon doesn't look real to me, but it obviously is. I think it is, but I'm open to the suggestion that maybe some things were faked in it. But I still think we went because we left things up there, things that like a probe couldn't leave. They moved things about and stuff, and they brought things back, didn't they? Brought moon rocks back, and bits of other probes. I think Apollo 12 did something with a Surveyor probe, didn't it, that had landed there previously? So brought something back. But anyway, better than the moon landing on man, just like in that film Moonfall, which I really liked. There's a mirror on the moon you can shine yourself right now if you have the equipment. Yes, they put a few mirrors on, the flash lasers at them. That's how they know the exact distance to the moon, and they know that the moon is actually moving away from Earth at about, I don't know, X centimeters per year. It's actually moving away from Earth. That's how they know, because they can, they know how the speed of light is a constant, so they know the time difference between the laser bouncing from the mirror and coming back. They know how far away it is, so they know that the moon is moving away from the Earth. Anyway, back to the film, right? So we're hearing all this chatter about the spaceships being prepared. Here are the astronauts. James Brolin, O.J. Simpson, and Sam Waterston, who he looks like, I don't know, it doesn't look real to me in this film. He looks like a puppet. It looks like Jim Henson made him, but that's just me. James Brolin's playing Charles Brubaker, the commander of the mission. Sam Waterston is Pete Willis. He's the command module pilot, and O.J. Simpson is John Walker. I don't know. He goes. He's the Buzz Aldrin of the crew. He lands on Mars with Brubaker. So these are the three astronauts that are going to Mars. Yes, diamonds are forever tying. That's another one that came out before this, didn't it? That makes you think, doesn't it? Yes, I thought that as well. John Walker. I thought that. Is he is it Patriot or something? Something like that they call him, don't they? Tried to make him Captain America, didn't they? Yes, I thought that popped in my head. Right, where were we? Right, so anyway, so they're getting into the capsule. Here we go. This chap here, Horace, is giving them something. He's getting all emotional, is Horace, and gives them a Bible to take with them. They can take little things, can't they? They're not that bothered about little things because they've smuggled things aboard before, haven't they? Was it Alan Shepard? Somebody, didn't they? Took a golf club up, didn't they? And a golf ball, and so that they have a bit of leeway for stuff, don't they? So anyway, so they're taking a Bible. So, there's all this. Is this the I wonder where Gunter went scene from Apollo 13? USA agent, that's it. Not the Patriot, whatever. I were close. Right, so anyway, here we see a not great. It's 1977. It's not great composite. It's fine. It looks okay. Of the spectators, and here we that's Brenda Vaccaro as I can't remember the name of the character, Mrs. Brubaker. Kay, of course, it's Kay Brubaker. That's where are we? Denise Nicholas as Betty Walker, the wife of O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson's character, and her there is Lee Bryant as Sharon Willis, the wife of Peter Willis. Who wasn't Pete Willis a guitarist in Def Leppard before he got sacked for the first 2 albums? Anyway, that's by the by. So they're ready to spectate, and now some congressman is arriving. This chap here and his wife and a general, this young lad's taking them to the seats. This bit here, it's all about, sleazy politicians just using the space program for their own ends. And they're both as sleazy as each other. We see this congressman who's, I think he's like in charge of NASA or whatever. And we're going to see the vice president in a minute. And Josh Temple's arrived. Sorry, you haven't missed anything. Yes, I bet she's glad she isn't his real wife, because they don't have the 20-minuters. They don't have a good record, do they, O.J. Simpson's wives? Anyway, I'm going to say something. I forgot what it was. Yes, I'm going to look up who I can't remember the name of the actor who plays the vice president. James Caron, that's it. We're going to see James Caron soon. And the other Josh is here. With 3 Joshes here now. Anyway, right, so he's they're ready in the seats, and he's going to get another pair of binoculars for his wife. Countdown's continuing, blah blah. Then the vice president's going to arrive. Here he is, James Caron. There he is. That's James Caron there, who you may know from Poltergeist, Return of the Living Dead, and many other things. He's just as sleazy as the congressman or whoever he is. Does it say what he is? Where are we? It doesn't actually say there. That's typical, isn't it? Oh, there we go. Sorry. It's David Huddleston as Hollis Peaker. But it doesn't say what he is. I thought he said he was a congressman. Anyway, never mind. Whatever. Don't really matter. Yes. And that mysterious man from Twitch is here. Archmage Frey. Yes, the 3 amigos. Oh dear. Right, so the 2 sleazy politicians trying to up each other, and there is a bit of talking about, why the president's not there to see this launch. But if Peter Hyams knew his stuff, which I'm sure he does, but he would know that the president doesn't really, do much with NASA. NASA is generally the vice president's thing to be in charge of. So you would expect the vice president to be at a big launch like this, and not the president. Anyway, right. So off they go. They're getting ready. Getting ready to launch. Here we go. The countdown's going on. See, this is. I can just see him there. There's Horace just saying goodbye. So he locks them in, seals them in the capsule. They're going to be in that bloody little bloody capsule that's for the moon. They're going to Mars for like months. Ooh, it'd be horrible in there. So they're getting ready. Oh, and then as we're watching now, from this point of view, we see a fella arrive. Look, this fella's here coming down the catwalk. And he opens up the thing and tells them to get out as they're doing the countdown, saying, "What the hell is this? And, you've got to come out now. There's an emergency." There you go. So they all get out, but the countdown continues. So they're getting out. You'd think people had noticed, wouldn't you? They've been handing out binoculars to people spectating. You'd think the spectators would be saying, hang on, why are the astronauts getting back out and walking back along the, the access gantry thing? But obviously nobody notices. Oh, pardon me. So they get the astronauts out, they bus them to this helicopter. Helicopter takes off. I always thought around rocket launches, I thought all flights were grounded, but never mind. They need it for the plot. There's an Apollo command module there. A photo. That's Alan Fudge, who's been in a million things. Right, so 1 minute 30, they're getting ready for launch. Yeah, they're putting them in a helicopter now and flying them off. This is the vice president looking at somebody's bottom. I've got a bigger bum than that. That's a 70s bum, innit, basically. And the other fella says, the rocket's over there. So he looks at the rocket. There's Hal Holbrook. Oh, missed him. There he is. There's Hal Holbrook, who you may know from The Fog and other stuff. He's the baddie of the film. He's the baddie. By the way, speaking of baddies, NASA is kind of, I don't know, it's a funny one. NASA is kind of the baddie in this, or parts of NASA are kind of the baddie in this, but it was made with full cooperation with NASA, which is why there's NASA splattered everywhere, and all the rockets and stuff and all the equipment. But they're kind of portrayed as baddies. But it could be argued that, no, not really. Most of the people here don't know what's going on. And there's just a handful of people, part of like a black agency, I suppose you could call it, that's doing all the hoaxing. So it could be argued it's not NASA that are the baddies, it's the others that's run by Hal Holbrook here. Although even he claims he's just doing as he's told. He says there are, grown-ups in charge. That's how he puts it. Anyway, so right, get him out of the helicopter, bundle him in a plane. Yes, plausible deniability, says Win Grace. Yeah, plausible deniability, like wormhole extreme. So they're flying them off somewhere now, but the rocket's still going to launch because, as far as everybody knows, the astronauts are still in there and they're still getting all the telemetry and voices from the astronauts, which they've done from they're using from the training. So that's how they're tricking everybody. Right, so off we go. There we go. The engines ignite. Off it goes up into the sky. Look, they're all watching, and we're just seeing Apollo footage. There you go, of the rocket launch. So up it goes into space. So they're all happy. Yeah, they won up themselves again. And Hollis is always calling the vice president an asshole. And I presume it's reciprocated, but they don't say it to the faces because they're sleazy. The politicians are they? Right. So he's asking. He wants the president. He wants the president's backing, does Hollis, and the vice president saying, well, he does back the program. Blah blah blah. Right, the plane lands at this place. This is Jackson. It's not an Air Force base. It's they call it SAC, and I can't remember what that stands for. Anyway, but the land there, it's a disused base somewhere near Houston. I don't know why it's near Houston, because they launched from Florida, don't they? So they've flown them from Florida to Houston, somewhere near Houston. But anyway. Oh, yes, I remember now. That's why. Because, as we see, there's a chap at Houston at Mission Control. He realises something's amiss. And so he says that the signals from the spaceship are travelling no more than 300 miles. And that's what he tells Elliott Gould later on. So that's why it's near Houston. Anyway, right, so they've flown from Florida to Houston. They've got there pretty quick, I must admit, because it's a fair old trek, isn't it? But, right, so they're taking them inside. They want to know what's going on. Strategic Air Command, yes, that's all I could think of as well. Could be. It could be something to do with that. I think it says SAC. I'm probably wrong. So they put them in a little room, and they're waiting. They're wondering what's going on. And there you go. There's Sam Waterston. It looks like there's somebody off screen working him with a little control jet. Right, so Hal Holbrook arrives, and he does a nice monologue about how amazing it is being part of this program. It was there for the Apollo and all that, and Brubaker was as well, and the family. Brubaker's kids call him Uncle. I can't remember his first name. By the way, I haven't said his name, have I? Just keep calling him Hal Holbrook. James Kellaway. His kids call him Uncle Jim, the Brubaker's kid. So he's like a part of the family. Yes, he looks like a wax puppet of Ed Norton. Oh dear. Ed Norton, proper wooden. How is Edward Norton such a huge movie star? Because he's crap, isn't it? I watched him in... What did I watch him in? Recently, I watched all the Bourne films. Bourne Identity, Bourne Supremacy, Bourne Ultimatum, Bourne Legacy, and Jason Bourne. I watched them all. And I think, is it Bourne Legacy? It's got Edward Norton in. And he's rubbish. He was rubbish in the Hulk as well. It's like just there, isn't it? It's that's a proper wooden. Anyway, whatever. That's by the by. Right, so he's going through all this. All about how his family, and they've known each other 16 years, blah blah blah. And he goes and talks to telling about how he saw the president when he put forward the proposal for this mission to Mars, and all that. And he said the president told him not to screw up. And then he says, what happened? We screwed up. Honest to goodness, what he calls it, made in America screw up. There he's talking about during Apollo 17, people were complaining that the stations were covering the landing of Apollo 17 and taking off reruns of I Love Lucy. Which I can imagine being true, because they said that about Apollo 13, didn't they? They were saying they were losing the audience, so they staged a disaster to get people interested again. Wingate says, I remember liking Death to Smooch It, but I don't recall if I liked him in it. I don't dislike him. I just don't understand why he's so, this huge acting star. But that's how I like Fight Club and stuff like that. But I think he's more propped up by other people in the film. To be completely honest, even when he's the star of the film. But that's just me. I'm sure he's a lovely fella. Anyway, so what would I say? Oh, yes, they screwed up. They find out that the life support system that a company made for them, and that's what I got. First class, bona fide, made in America screw up. The life support system wouldn't work. They found out 2 months ago that they'd be dead in 3 weeks. So they thought, so what do? They just cancel the mission, get a new life support system that's going to work. How long is that going to take? Or do they do this? What they're going to do? They're going to fake at least the first mission. It'll give them breathing room, I suppose, until they can, get a proper life support system for the next mission. I'm guessing they don't actually say that, but I'm guessing that's the reasoning behind it. But there you go. Con-amalgamate buggered up the life support system. You'd think they'd know, wouldn't you, though, with longer than 2 months to go, particularly on a mission to Mars, that it wouldn't work, because they'd be doing, full duration testing and stuff, wouldn't they? That it would operate for the however many months it's going to take to get to Mars and back. 259 days, they're saying this, from launch to splashdown. I think it's day 259. So that's well over 6 months, isn't it? Anyway, so you think, they'd have known, wouldn't you? Long earlier than 2 months before launch. But anyway, whatever. It doesn't work. Dead in 3 weeks, there would be. So they're gonna fake it. There we go. It's gonna show them the studio where they're gonna fake it. Oh, by the way, Josh liked Norton in Primal Fear. So there we go. So I'm wrong. Right. Yes, just get a long hose. I don't know why they don't do that. They should do that, shouldn't they? And then if anything goes wrong, they could just pull them back to Earth all the way from Mars. Sounds reasonable to me. Right, so the takes them into, I'm going to say hangar 18. It's got to be, hasn't it? It will be. I bet it is. It takes them into hangar 18, and here we see the Mars set. It's not very big, is it? I mean, couldn't they find a bigger room? It's supposed to be like this Air Force base. You'd think they'd have a huge hangar, wouldn't they? But it's just this little pokey little room with a Star Trek backdrop and a moon landing and a moon landing module from Apollo there with lights shining through, I presume, the red filters. So this is going to be Mars. So there you go. So he's telling them, you've basically, while they're on Earth, all the telemetry and voices and at least at the start, and the medical data is coming from the command module. But once they sort of like get up to speed, then they're going to start pretending to go to Mars. That's the gist. And there you go. They need us for the actual television transmissions. Oh, right. So that's all they need them for. And he's telling them that when they come back, they're going to splash down 200 miles from where they're supposed to. So it'll take the recovery carrier an hour and a half to get to them. So it's going to have to go, isn't it? Some 200 miles in an hour and a half. How fast is that aircraft carrier going? But anyway, maybe they mean the helicopters. They must mean the helicopters from the aircraft carrier. But give them that time. They're going to fly them out to an island that's near the splashdown zone, and then a helicopter will take them from the island to the capsule, and then they'll put them inside, and then the recovery team will arrive and take them out of the capsule, and everything's lovely, and nobody gets hurt. It's just a big fib. That's all it is. So anyway, so obviously Brubaker's not happy about this. And he says, this is all nonsense. There you go. You sure we go along with it, right? And he says, no, I'm not sure. He says, well, what if we say no? He says, well, I don't know. Don't say no. That's what he says. But he's not happy. And none of them are happy about it, really. So he does another little speech about people not caring about anything, and this mission will give people hope. Most people don't give a monkey's, do they, about space missions? I get all excited about them. I'm looking forward to this new launch from, hopefully, what they call integrated flight test from SpaceX Starship, which should be soon. No sooner than November 17th. They're still waiting for a launch license. So, but it's on the way. So I'm looking forward to that. I get excited about space stuff. But most people don't give a monkeys. But that's what he's talking about. But anyway, he says he's not going to go along with it. Does Brubaker? I forgot his name again. Kellaway says, don't put me in a corner. And then he threatens the families. Says, your families. He says, what about our families? And he says, they're all flying together on the plane back to Houston or whatever. They're all on the same plane. And he says, what are you trying to say? He says, well, do you want me to put it in writing? There's a device on the plane, and if it doesn't give the all clear, they're going to blow it up and kill their families. So it's got them over a barrel. So they've got to. My TV gone off. They lost the internet. Batman Returns is on the telly. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Hey, I'll tell you what. No. I'll just turn it off. Turn the TV off. I hope it's still going now. I hope I didn't lose the internet altogether. We're still going. Are we still going? Yes, I think we are. I think we're fine, aren't we? Yeah. I think we're still going. Holbrook plays some serious douches. Yeah, he's good at it, isn't he? But they always seem to be like douchebags that you kind of sympathise with a little bit, you know, because he comes across as a nice fella, doesn't he? Usually. Oh, thank goodness, yes. I thought my internet had gone off then. It's just me internet connected to the TV. Because that image was coming from my computer through the, what they call it, media server thing. Anyway, whatever. Where were we? Oh, yes, it's threatened their family, so they've got to cooperate now. This is where he's telling him that it's, you know, grown-ups are in charge. It's got too big. You know, there you go, a bomb on the plane. So then we cut back to, this is the Brubaker house. There's all reporters, and this is where we meet Elliott Gould and Karen Black. There they are. Nice little banter between them. They're obviously attracted to one another. They're not a couple. They're obviously attracted to one another. So they're always on about jumping each other's bones, so to speak. And it's all, you know, very amusing. But, what is it now? I can't remember. James Brolin. Oh God, I've read it somewhere. Where have I read it? Hang on, let's have a look. Where have I read it? It's like Elliott Gould were married to Barbara Streisand, and then I think she divorced Elliott Gould and married James Brolin, I think. Am I getting that right? Let me check. And then they both appeared in the same film. Spouses. Yes! And he's still married to Barbara Streisand. Yes. So there we go. But I'm sure, you know, they got on swimmingly. Right. So they're, you know, reporters. They're both reporters who want to jump each other's bones. Brenda Vaccaro comes out and she says she's, you know, very happy. She doesn't know what's happened. You know, she's not in on it, obviously. She just knows her husband's on his way to Mars. So she comes out and says, you know, they're all very excited, blah, blah, blah. And then she says, Karen Black asks her a question and she answers it. And then, you know, everything's going to go back to normal. And then I'm you know, it's like, come out, say hello. I'm going back in. So there you go. So that's that. Right, March 16th. So it started off, by the way, January 4th, I think it said, didn't it? Was the launch. So we're over 3 months later. I think they're supposed to be approaching Mars now, I think. Oh, not far off. And here we meet this chap, who we're going to see in a minute. He's got his console and his numbers aren't right. Can't remember this chap's name. When I see it, I'll know. Is it him? No, it's him. It's Elliott Witter, played by Robert Walden, whose face I know. What are you in? Is it him that were in Poltergeist? Oh no, I don't think it is it? Don't think it is. Him that rips his face off. No, it's not him. Somebody else. Never mind. Ignore me. Yes, 3 months to get to Mars. His dad. It might not be there yet. This might be earlier, before they get there. But anyway, Elliott Witter's noticing something's wrong. There you go. There he is, and he reports it to his superior, and he says, you know, there's something wrong with the console. The numbers aren't coming out right, and so this fella fobs him off. Dr. Bergen, I think his name is. He fobs him off. Says, "Oh, we'll get somebody to check the console. Thanks for bringing this to my attention. Toddle away, go away." You know, blah blah blah. There you go. He's saying the TV signals are coming in ahead of the spacecraft signals, because remember the spacecraft signals with all the voices and telemetry and medical data is actually at Mars, and probably orbiting Mars. I should imagine, or on the way to Mars, but the TV signals. Yes, go away now. That's what he's saying to him. He's been a bit of a critical drinker, isn't he? Go away now. Where were we? All right, television signals that have been not recorded, been transmitted from that base, 300 miles from Houston, or within 300 miles from Houston. That's why you'd have thought they'd, accounted for that, wouldn't you? But maybe they didn't account for this fella being on the ball. But anyway, so he's worrying about it, even though he's been told not to worry about it. Yes, critical drinker quote, Josh. He's obviously worrying about it. Nice bit of product placement there. Have a Coke and a smile. That's what. That's what the fella just said to him, hasn't he? In the old Eddie Murphy style. Have a Coke and a smile and shut the F up. Oh, dear. Right. So, what are we now? Is there going to be another passage of time? Yes, we're in May now. So it's 5 months now, isn't it? May 14th. So I think they're on the way to Mars. Yes. They're at Mars after 5 months now. 5 minutes from landing. All the wives are arriving. Alan Fudge is there, of course. So they're getting ready for the landing on Mars. And there's Hollis, what's his face, watching from his office. And mate. Right, so they're going to land on Mars, apparently. Did they actually? You don't actually say. Did they actually land the lander on Mars, or are they just faking it all, or is all this stuff happening automatically up there, and then they're just going to transmit the pictures from the Air Force base? I don't know. It doesn't say. But I'm guessing. I'm going to say yes. They're landing on Mars. But as we all know, if you've watched Alternative 3, the first landing on Mars was a joint American-Soviet. An unmanned landing but in 1963. If you watch Alternative 3, it's a great British conspiracy program that were on TV on April the 1st, 1977, same year as this came out, which is great. It's got I forgot the name now. Shane Rimmer in it as plays an Apollo astronaut, and it's really good. Saying that people are living on Mars, they're taking scientists and taking them to the moon and Mars and stuff. It's great. Alternative 3, look it up. It's on YouTube. I forgot what I want now. Because Wingrace is asking, is there life on Mars? Because he thinks it's David Bowie. I always say Bowie, and I hear other people saying Bowie. I've never heard the man himself pronounce his own name. So anyway. Right, where were we? Right, so the landing on Mars. I'm going to say that an actual landing does happen on Mars, all automatically. That's what I'm saying. So for the telemetry's sake, I don't know, but and Josh says if there is, I hope they don't attack. Well, they might do, because the chances of anyone coming from Mars are 1,000,000 to 1. He said. He was arrested in my city, so yeah. Who was? Oh, David Bowie. Anyway, so they're watching, but we're not actually seeing it, because why aren't we seeing it? I don't know, but we see it afterwards, and they keep saying the time difference is 20 minutes. I think they said 21 minutes or something. So they're not seeing it live; they're seeing it as it happened 21 minutes ago. This is the fella again, Witter, who's again getting the same figures, and he goes and talks to Hal Holbrook this time, and he says, "I can't figure it out. There's a discrepancy here." And so Hal Holbrook fobs him off and says, "Go away now," and and fobs him off, and he's going to disappear him. I'm presuming people are getting killed, by the way, getting bumped off. We don't actually see anybody get bumped off. We see somebody trying to bump off Elliott Gould a few times, or seemingly attempt to bump him off. But we don't see anybody else get taken out. They just disappear. So anyway, just like that. We do that again. Oh, it didn't do it, did it? Are you ready? Why don't you disappear? Just like that. Anyway, Yes, someone seems to have a death wish. Poor Witter. He should have just shut his gob, shouldn't he? Basically, but obviously, it got into his psyche that these numbers weren't right. He knows something's up, something's wrong, and apparently, according to Richard Hoagland, the man of Enterprise mission fame, not Starship Enterprise, his website. Who does a lot of stuff about alien bases on the Mars and the Moon, stuff like that. The face on Mars and all that. He said he was working. He was like not a reporter. He was like what we call it, like a press advisor or something at NASA during the moon landings, during the Apollo 11. And he said someday that day he saw somebody say that it wasn't real. Who knows? Who knows? But take what Richard Hoagland says with a grain of salt. Anyway, so here we go. They've landed on Mars. There we go. So it said we have landed, and then it shows. There we go. Right, so they landed on Mars. This camera, by the way, is supposed to be attached to one of the legs of the lander. And, if you're wondering why they're getting pictures, people say, "How did they have a picture of them getting out of the lunar module on the moon?" Because it was attached to the bloody, attached to the lander and pointing at the hatch. That's how they got a picture of it. And when they got out, they had their own cameras. Then they had them attached there, didn't they? And they had others as well. The face on Mars is cool. I prefer the face in Antarctica, though. I don't know that one. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know that one. Are you being serious? Is there a face in Antarctica? You'll have to drop a link for me to look at. But the face on Mars, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. But it were good on Mission to Mars. That's a film. That's a film that a lot of people don't like. Mission to Mars with Tim Robbins and that other fella that were in Forrest Gump. I forgot his name. I really like that film. I really like Mission to Mars. Hang on. It's on Google Maps. Oh, it was if they didn't remove it. Dun, dun, dun. I'm going to have to make myself a tinfoil hat, like Hecklefish. I'll have to make myself one. But yeah, I liked Mission to Mars. I thought that were cool. Apparently, back in the day when I used to write for a UFO magazine, my editor, Russ, told me that he got information that the film Mission to Mars had a massive rewrite at the end, and there was supposed to be an ending that was totally different to the one that we got. That or was it the ending? What was it now? Either the ending wasn't what some people wanted. They wanted to put like a message out there that Martians created life on Earth or something like that. And that's not originally how the film ended, or something along those lines. But anyway, whatever. Back to Capricorn One. They've landed on Mars. And by the way, speaking of that alternative 3, I said the first mission to Mars, unmanned, was in 1963, and there's footage that they show on in alternative 3, and then it lands. And then you see something moving under the soil on Mars. So that's that. Anyway, it's not real, obviously. Wingrace says it's at those coordinates on Google Earth. Right, I'll go check that out then a bit later. Thank you for that. Oh, pardon me. And Joshua says he preferred Red Planet. I quite like that as well. That killer robot thing, wasn't it? Where they were trying to terraform Mars, weren't they, with that algae or whatever, wasn't it? Yeah, they're both good films. I like both of them. Anyway, right. So we're watching Brubaker come out the hatch. There he is. Yes, so did I. Wingrace. Wingrace liked them both too. Where were we? So he's coming out now, and they're getting ready, and that's showing the base that they're at. And as he jumps off, I don't know why they have him jumping off the ladder. That's because it's a fair way down. But Mars gravity, it's not like moon gravity, is it? I know it's less than Earth, but they show it in like super slow motion. He jumps off, and then they do a thing where they say, cut to slow motion. I'll try and see if we can see it. Is it going to show it? Now, ready slow-mo, and, whatever. And there you go. It shows the two, shows him, that one he lands normally, because he's on Earth, and then they slow it down for that one. Because he's on Mars, and they've got to walk like that, even though it's Mars, not the moon. I think Mars gravity, it's about a third of Earth, something like that. Moon's is a sixth, isn't it? And Mars about a third-ish. What was that other Mars movie where the person farted in the space? I don't know. I don't know. The only Mars films I can think of off the top of my head is Mission to Mars, Red Planet, that one with Matt Damon. I can't remember that one blew out now. That one. What else was there? Don't know. Rocket Man. That Elton John film. Anyway. By the way, For All Mankind has started again. Episode 1 of season 4 is out, and it's really good. I really enjoyed it. That's on Mars mostly, or partly. Anyway, so man has landed on Mars in a studio that looks like a set from original series Star Trek, but never mind. So he's going over to get the camera now, and I thought, oh, what if he just turned it round and look, we saw all the lights and stuff, or just angled it slightly up and you saw the lights above. But he doesn't. There he goes, getting the camera, just points it at the ground, and he's putting it on the tripod. He's taking it off the lander and moving it away and putting it on the tripod. So you can get a wider view, slightly wider view of the Blue Peter studio. Total Recall. Oh, yes. I'm actually thinking about that as doing that on the Magnificent Mondays. The original one, the Arnold Schwarzenegger one, not the bloody Kate Beckinsale one. It's bloody awful. But yeah, that's a cool one. Rocket Man, 1997, probably the first time I thought of that movie since before Y2K. Rocket Man, I don't know. You mean Rocketeer? I like that, Rocketeer. I don't know. Rocket Man was the Elton John biopic, wasn't it? Anyway, unless there's a different film. Just started season 1 For All Mankind. It's cool. It's not like all spacey stuff, there's like drama and all that in it, families and stuff. But it's a cool series. Anyway, they're all proud. They've landed on Mars. They've put a flag there. And he does his, it's one small step for man bit. Hal Holbrook's looking kind of depressed because he knows what's going on, but everybody's happy. There we go. And then we do the pullback where it shows, they're on Mars and then they're not. They're in a studio. We will never let you down. Just Canapke says, to paraphrase Highland, that there's only one Total Recall. Yes, there is. I mean, that remake, bloody awful, isn't it? Colin Farrell in it, and Kate Beckinsale. It's awful. It's terrible. An accident-prone and obnoxious geek joins a NASA space mission to Mars. During the flight, he manages to put himself and the entire crew in jeopardy. Oh, is this that Rocket Man from 97? Oh, right. Never heard of it. Never heard of it. Anyway. Right. I'll look that up. Look that up, Rocket Man. Anyway. Right. It sounds like a Disney film, doesn't it? Like what would it called? In the UK, it was released as The Spaceman and King Arthur. This is back in around about this time, 77-ish. I think in America it was called Unidentified Flying Oddball. It's on Disney Plus, but its theatrical release in the UK with The Spaceman and King Arthur with Dennis Dugan and a duplicate robot of him played by Dennis Dugan, who goes back in time to the court of King Arthur in his little mini shuttle. I don't know why I'm talking about that. It's got nothing to do with Mars, but anyway, where were we? Right, there we go. So, They're on the way. Right, so Elliott Gould, who just happens to know Witter personally, he's his friend, he's known him for years, he's been to his apartment a million times, he says. He's having a game of pool with him, and Witter's obviously miffed about what's going on at work. So he's telling him. He doesn't actually tell him. He kind of infers that the TV signals, can't be coming more than 300 miles. And he tells him it once and says, "Tell me again." And then he gets interrupted saying there's a phone call. So he goes to answer the phone, and it's somebody on the other end asking him something. And when he gets back, Witter's gone, and that's the last we ever see of him. Somebody's, we presume somebody snatched him and he's gone. We never see him again. Has he been bumped off? Is he in the desert somewhere, picking his bones out of the desert? Which is what they threatened. Apparently threatened some of the Roswell witnesses with, didn't they? If you speak, well, they'll be picking your bones out of the desert. That's what they were threatened with. Oh, there we go. That's Sam Waterston is always telling jokes, by the way. He's the comedy relief among the astronauts. Because here we are, millions of miles from Earth, and we can still order pizza. There, we'll send out for pizza. Which reminds, I might have one after this. And then Brubaker saying he's not going to do it because they're getting ready to go back to Earth now after this mission. They're on the way back. And he says he's not going to do it. And they're saying, well, think of us families. The threat to their families is still hanging over them, but he's still full of his taking the moral high ground. But, sometimes you've just got to bite your lip, haven't you, and get through it. And this is James B. Sicking. It's just credited as James Sicking. I think Jim Sicking, actually, in this. Smoking a pipe. Who would go on to become Captain Styles of the USS Excelsior, NX 2000. He was also in Hill Street Blues as well, wasn't he? Watson's comic relief is hilarious, given how straight-laced he's been on Law and Order forever. Yep. He's quite good in this, I must admit, but he does kind of look like a Jim Henson puppet. But anyway. So he says he's not going to do it. So, and James B. Sicking's listening to him, and he said, we may have a problem with Brubaker. So that's what he says. There we go. But they're saying, I'm not going to risk my family and all that. Meanwhile, I forgot the name of Elliott Gould's character. What the hell is it? I keep calling him Elliott Gould. Caulfield, of course, Robert Caulfield. Tell you, he's back in his office. By the way, curiously, when we first saw Caulfield and Karen Black's character talking earlier on, he was moaning about how he basically spends his life in hotels and holiday inns and all that. But then a couple of scenes down the line from here, we see him in presume it's his house. It's not a hotel, it's his house. So what were he moaning about living in hotels for if his house is right there? Don't know. It must be a roving reporter who just happens to be where he lives at the moment. Anyway, he gets called over to see his editor in a minute, I think. What's he asking here, though? Oh, no. This is where he's phoning the operator to ask about Witter's phone. He's been trying to phone him for over an hour, but he's just getting an engaged signal. So the operator says that it's out of order. Pardon me. So that's what he's doing there. Right, they're at T plus 223 days, 6 hours, 32 minutes. I just thought I'd just read that to you. I should hold my nose and say it, shouldn't I?
We are T plus 223 days, 6 hours, 32 minutes.
There we go. Oh, can I get on snotty now? Should work for NASA. I should. Right, where were we? Right, so they're getting ready for the TV broadcast. I think they're close enough to Earth now. I think they say that they can have a conversation. They couldn't before because obviously they're like 20 minutes light journey time to Mars. And then back. Don't forget there and back. So it's like 40 minutes, isn't it, really? But now they're close enough back to Earth, coming back to Earth, that they can have a conversation. There's just be like a few seconds or whatever of a gap. There we see Witter's old console, his old station covered up. I wonder where he is. Don't know. So, but Alan Fudge is still there with his Apollo photos and a picture of the moon. By the way, I was reminded of speaking of conspiracies, you know, on Facebook where these like little videos pop up, like suggested videos and stuff. One of them popped up of I think like 3 images that have never been explained. And I can't remember what they were now, but the middle one was a pyramid on the moon. And I remember seeing that picture before. It's one of these, I think it's actually on the NASA website. And they've explained it away as somebody snapped a photo of sort of like the floor of the command module or lunar or one of the modules and snapped an image. And it was just like, I think when you look at it, it just looks like a black image. But if you fiddle about with the contrast and stuff like that, it looks like there's a bloody pyramid there on the surface of the moon. And they've said, no, it's nothing. It's just like an abstract image. But that's a funny one. It is. That's a funny one. Speaking of conspiracies. Right. I suppose if you Google pyramid on the moon, let's have a look, see if I can do it. See if I can find it. We're live. What the hell? Do what I want. Pyramid on the moon. Images. Where is it? Where is it? Got to be here somewhere. Got to be here somewhere. Why ain't it here? You think it'd be at bloody top, wouldn't you? Maybe it's been erased from history. Pyramid on the moon photo, we'll try. No, it's not that either. Not that either. Why ain't it coming up? Because I've seen it before. I remember it doing the UFO news rounds many, many years ago. And then it reappeared in that Facebook video. As though it was like, you know, one of the astronauts had taken a photo of a pyramid on the moon. In the dark, obviously. But it's not there. Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. Anyway. Right. Where were we? Right. So they're going to talk to the wives are going to talk to their husbands now. Here we are. They're all excited. There you go. Is someone Mandela affecting you? No, it's not. I did. I saw it. I just can't find it again. I'm going to find it now. See, you've got me cross. Apollo pyramid moon photo. Right, we'll try that. Try that one. Here we go. There, you found it straight away. This image was taken by Apollo 17 during its last flight to the moon near the area known as Geophone Rock. It was catalogued by NASA as blank. After retouching the photo, you'll see that it's not completely blank. If turning up the contrast, pyramidal structures can be observed. NASA has never given a credible version of the issue. Well, yeah, they have, because I remember it going on about, they said it was just an abstract shape of part of a console or something like that in the land. That's what they've said. So this is the link. It's on metabunk.org. So I'll put the link in the thingamabob chat. There we go. Right. Hey, just says I got it on DuckDuckGo. Okay. But anyway, I'll put where I found it on. Anyway, back to the film. They're talking to their husbands. Right, so they all say they miss it. There goes, I miss you, blah, blah, blah. Sam Waterston says, I told you never to call me because he's funny. And then we learn that Brubaker's being a bit off and they're getting ready. They're getting ready to cut the communications. You know, they could say like sunspots or something. But they're getting ready on the red button. I suppose they've got one to cut comms if he says something, but he doesn't. But we keep seeing him look concerned, and he says to Kay, his wife, this Brubaker, that when he gets back, they're going to take the kids to Yosemite like they did last year. And she kind of looks confused and then says, okay. And Elliott Gould notices this. So we learn later on that were a clue. They were giving clues without giving it all away. So there we go. So that's that. And then they see, they've got a big red button. Look, interrupt. Have they got those at NASA? Maybe, don't know. Hang on, just bear with me. Back. Sorry, my foot was just itching then. Right, so it all goes okay. So he's crying a bit because she just read him a little composition that his son wrote, Charles Jr. wrote about his dad and how proud he is, so he's roaring. And then he says the thing about Yosemite and all that. And he's watching, you see, smoking with one eye. We've all done that, haven't we? The smoke is in your eye. When they used to smoke, I haven't smoked for years. Never mind. Right. I think this is the Witter residence. Elliott Gould's going to see his friend. He comes up, knocks on the door, and Barbara Bosson answers the door, who you may know from Hill Street Blues and The Last Starfighter. Probably other things as well. That's where I know her from. And she says, I've lived here for over a year. And he says, no, my friend Witter lives here. I've been here 1,000,000 times. And basically barges his way in. And there you go, he's saying the address. And he says, yes, this is that address, but I've lived here for ages. She's obviously a government agent. But she's a good actress if she's a government agent. But he goes in and he says it looks nothing like, where Witter lived. And there you go. She's called Mrs. Alva Leacock. Alva. But we learn that he goes and does some digging, and he learns that all according to records, she has lived there for over a year, and his friend Witter's never even worked at NASA. Nobody knows of him. Bit like what happened to Bob Lazar, innit? Bit like what happened to Bob Lazar. Nobody at that place in America where you make nuclear bombs. I forgot what they call it now. Nobody there ever heard of Bob Lazar, but then they did some digging, didn't they? And they found his name in a phone book. Whatever the name of that place is, I can't remember what they call it. Their phone book, his name were in there, so he obviously did work there at some point. What do they call that place now? Starts with an A, I'm sure it does. Anyways, driving his car next is Elliott Gould, Caulfield, and then suddenly it starts accelerating. He can't brake, and he tries everything. You see these things, you think, why do you just take the key out? He actually tries all that, and the whole key and everything comes out, and the lock thing. All that comes out as well, and it's using the choke and the handbrake and pulling all levers, and nothing's working. So I had to just crash the bugger because before it got too fast, I'd have just drove into something. But he doesn't. He's just bombing about, and this it just reminds me of Police Squad. I was just watching it. It's getting faster and faster. Then a bit of Starsky and Hutch down an alley. Alamogordo. Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking that, but it didn't sound right in my head. It could be. It could be. I'm going to have to look that up now. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Bob Lazar, right. Los Alamos. There we go. That's what I'm thinking of. Los Alamos. I knew it had an A in it. Starts with an A. The Alamos bit does. Los Alamos. That's what I'm thinking of. Why couldn't I remember that? I'm useless. I'm sure I'm going senile. Anyway, his car's accelerating to nearly 100 miles an hour. And he's going over railway tracks. Somehow he's not crashing, but then he drives it up a bridge, and there you go. Off he goes. He puts his hands like that, but then as he's going over the cliff, we hear the horn going beep. I thought, well, how's he doing his horn if he's got his hands like that? Don't know, but he just is. So there we go. So his car's gone in the water. He's falling in the water. His car's gone in the water, but he's fine. He comes swimming out. There you go. Comes swimming out. Look. So obviously got the door open before it sank too deep. You've always got to remember that. Before the car sinks too deep, get the door open quick, because if it gets too deep in the water, the pressure won't let you, won't let you open the door. I saw that on something. Yes, the government removed it from my brain, along with all names of everybody. Using HARP, yes. The High Altitude Atmospheric Research Project. Yeah. Bloody remember that, don't I? Anyway, so it's fine, right? September 19th. I think they're getting ready to come back to Earth now, ready for splashdown and all that. There you go, 259 days, 14 hours, 12 minutes into the flight. So Mars and back in 260 days, let's call it. That's the USS. I forgot what they call it. Does it say? There we go. Oriskany. That's obviously stock footage, probably. I'm looking at the planes. They look a bit old-fashioned for the 70s, don't they? You'd think they'd be, I don't know, a bit more advanced than looks like something from the 60s, mid-60s or something, doesn't it? But never mind. Right, so they're getting ready to splash down. There you go. They're taking them in the plane. Remember, they're going to fly them off to this island and then put them in a helicopter and then fly them out to the capsule, which is going to splash down 200 miles off course. This chap comes and tells this fella here. He tells Kellaway that there's a problem. It's off course, by about 200 miles. So Kellaway says, "Okay, keep me posted." But it's all part of the plan. He obviously doesn't know. As I said, the NASA people have no idea, have they? They're just doing their jobs. It's these, wheels within wheels and all that stuff. Anyway, so they're getting ready for the splashdown, and then an alarm goes off, I think. There we go. Show red on the heat shield. An alarm goes off. So the heat shield is separated. Obviously prematurely, because the heat shield's there to, obviously to protect the capsule during re-entry. An ablative shield in it, and then I think it does separate, doesn't it? Once they like everything else, once it's okay and slowed down enough, I think it does separate, and then the parachutes come out and all that stuff, don't they? But it's premature separation, so to speak. So basically, it's re-entering uncontrollably now, and it's going to burn up, and then all the telemetry goes off. But if this is like, was this meant to happen then? Did they plan for them? Were they never going to? Were the astronauts always going to die? Were that part of the plan? It doesn't really say it, but I'm guessing it is, because if this telemetry is supposed, I don't know. Well, no, hang on. If it's burned up, yes, the telemetry will stop, won't it? So yes. So maybe not then. Maybe they weren't supposed to die. If the capsule has actually burnt up and has actually been an accident, the telemetry, the false telemetry coming from the capsule would do that, wouldn't it? If the capsule were destroyed. So yes, that's fair enough. So I don't know. It's still that's up in the air, isn't it? Whether did the heat shield separate accidentally, or did they mean it to happen? Were the astronauts never meant to make it back? If so, why bother putting them in the plane to fly them out to the island? I don't know. My understanding is that the ship did do the travelling. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier on. I thought, did it actually do everything? And did it actually land on Mars? Is there actually did it automatically land? The land part on Mars, unmanned, and do all that stuff? I don't know, but I'm saying it did. Anyway, so they've basically, the astronauts are dead. So that's what they're saying. So they're all in shock. So the plane has landed here. Now, what's it landed for? Can't remember. Why they've put them in it? What? Hang on, I'm confused now. Why did that plane take off? Where's it flying them to? Why's it flown them here? Because they're here where this Jackson SAC thing is, where the fake landing place. Well, what was that plane thing? I don't know. Anyway, so oh no, I think they just brought them back. I think they just brought that. I think they turned the plane around and brought them back. That's what they've done. Yes, of course. So they brought them back. They know something's gone wrong, and they realise, well, we're dead. And he says it's probably the heat shield or something else has happened. But, so he's doing a press conference saying that they're all heroes and all that. And so they're dead now, and he's telling them that all the astronauts have passed away, and it's all very sad. And somebody asks, is this the end of the manned space program? He says, I don't know. So they decide they've got to get out of there. They're just explaining, that everything seemed to be okay, but they're taking the door's locked, so they're going to take it off the hinges. Now I know that works because we used to do that where I used to work. They used to have a cupboard that they kept all the sweeties in, or the sweetie machine. And hope I'm not getting into trouble here, but we found that we could take the door off its hinges and get in and have sweeties for free. We didn't do it a lot. Oh no, we didn't do it at all. That would be wrong. Never mind. You didn't hear that. So they take the door off its hinges and get out, and they go out to they accost this man that's there by the plane in the minute area. So he's just waiting. Hi, fellas. Hi. Yeah. So, there's talking about, disasters sometimes happen when you're, extending the frontiers of science and all that. So they get in the plane and they take off. All the G-men come running out and chasing them in their cars as they're going down the runway. O.J. Simpson's trying to get the door shut. Don't know why he's struggling, but never mind, it does. And this is a good thing here when we see this. They died striving for a goal, but they're not dead. They're escaping. And here it comes. This is a good. Is it going to show it? There we go. It goes over, but we see, there we go, that one of the wheels gets ripped off. And there you go, goes bouncing down. And then they say, we've lost one of the wheels. So, and then it's missing there as well. So I wonder if was that supposed to happen? Or was that a genuine accident? Or was it all planned with, a cool stunt and a cool setup? Anyway, so it's flying there with the one wheel down. There he's looking like a Jim Henson puppet. Anyway, right. So anyway, they're off flying away, and they're going to head to the coast and then head north and find a city. So we're alive, with lots of people. But then they find they've no fuel. There he's looking. Sam Waterston. And there was no fuel. So they've got to find somewhere to land. So they've got to set it down in this desert, which kind of reminded me of the scenery from Planet of the Apes, the original. It was filmed, I can't remember. I did look it up and then I've forgotten again. You know what I'm like. Red Rock Canyon State Park, which is in California. And maybe Planet of the Apes were filmed there. I don't know. Shall we see? See what it says. Yes. Well, Beneath the Planet of the Apes was, which is my favourite of the Planet of the Apes films. But loads of other stuff's been filmed there as well, including Buck Rogers' serial. I presume the original, the Buster Crab ones. The Mummy, Jurassic Park. Oh, is this? But did that double for the Badlands? What else? Westworld, The Car, cool film, also starring James Brolin and Ronnie Cox. Airwolf, Galactica 80, Lost in Space, The Twilight Zone. Yeah, anyway, so lots of things as filmed there. Wingate says Red Rocks in Colorado is better. I went there last year. Excuse me. Hey, never been to America, and I never will go. Not at my age. Oh, I haven't even got a passport anymore. Well, I've got a passport, but it's expired. Anyway, full flaps. There we go. That's what you want to see. So they've got to land the plane. They basically belly flop it because the landing gear missing, haven't they? So they're just going to belly flop it down. There we go. Obviously, not really. You know? You can tell it's actually got wheels, but they're supposed to be skidding it in, aren't they? There we go. Right. So he says, I think we're on Mars, you know, which some people have said the footage from the moon said looked a lot like, I think even Buzz Aldrin said it himself. Oh, excuse me. Said it looked like the high desert, didn't it? I think he might have said Nevada. Hey dear. Josh Temple says you're always welcome to come to Nevada. Thank you. I will. I'll call her. So if you need knock at your door, hear this Yorkshire accent. Josh, let me in. Don't harpoon me. You know it's me. Anyway, right. So they know that they're coming after them. That they obviously they haven't got that far because they didn't have a lot of fuel. So they've got to break out the survival kit. So they get a can of water each. Apparently, originally there were a packet of cigarettes in as well, because apparently that was standard thing in like survival kits back then. But they cut that bit out. And Josh says, to know, I've heard of that. To know, I might have seen it on the map. Does ring a bell. Oh, we will go hunt mountain lions with a harpoon. Anyway, get a can of water each, a flare each. They split some matches and a flint or whatever, and meat and all that. Oh, and Brubaker gets the gun, but he never uses it because he loses it because he's an idiot. Right, so O.J. Simpson's heading north, Sam Waterston's heading south, and Brubaker's heading west. Obviously, they're not going east because they've just come from that way, so off they go. Remember, they're in the middle of the Texan desert, aren't they? So they've got a long way to go wherever they're going because Texas is pretty big. So off they go. Right. And that plane tiny, though. It's a little titchy little plane. Bless it. Right. So, this is Elliott Gould now. Is so Empire Strikes Back at the theatre in Vegas. Good times. Cool. Hey. This is Elliott Gould, and this is where he's watching Brenda Vaccaro's, Kay Brubaker's reaction to the "we'll take the kids to Yosemite" thing. There you go. He's realizing she looks confused, so he wants to go and see her. This is now we see she's reading to the kids in that lovely husky voice that she's got. But she's getting upset. I think she's reading a Dr. Seuss book. It sounds like it. So she's reading that and getting upset because it's obviously it's kicking in that her husband's dead, but he's not. But she thinks he is. So she's getting all sad. This is Brew getting dressed up like a red Indian. Can you call them that now? Don't think you can. Anyway, Josh says that must be very West Texas. I don't know. Texas. When I think of Texas, I just think of a desert and cactuses. Oh dear. Because I'm superficial. Anyway, so there he's off walking. Right, Elliott Gould is arriving. He gets past the police officer or security chap, I don't know. But he's expected. He's made an appointment to see her, so she's accepted. She's very She's very nice with him, to be honest. I don't know why. They kind of have a bit of banter that's a little bit like the banter that he has with Karen Black. And I'm wondering, I wonder if in like in early versions they were supposed to be the same character. I don't know, but it's very similar. Or maybe Peter Hyams just writes all his women the same. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, he's asking her about the Yosemite thing, and she doesn't know, she doesn't know what could be wrong. So he says, okay, fair enough, never mind. And then he goes and he says, I'm sorry for bothering you. Oh, they went to Flat Rock. Yes, that's why. Because he said last year they went to Flat Rock, not Yosemite. So he says, okay, thanks for your help. Could I call you again? And she says, yeah, fine. Yeah. Right. These helicopter men arrive, just like magic, like that, look. They arrive and they do a lot of facing each other in the helicopters, even though they can't be, because they're a bit too close. And there's obviously, there's a line of sight thing going on. But anyway, so they've, look, they're doing it there. Look. I mean, they do it there, but they do it later on. They're too close. There's obviously one helicopter's closer than the other, but giving each other hand signals. I don't know what they're doing, but they're telling Hal Holbrook, I forgot the name of his, Kellaway, telling Kellaway that they found the plane and they're not there, so they're going to go and look for them. And he tells them, go searching, north, west, and east, and don't north, west, and south. Don't look east. Josh says, we don't all wear cowboy boots and hats or have horses. Well, I'm gravely disappointed. Oh, dear. Anyway, I think you're fibbing. I think you do. I bet you have in the past. Anyway, right. So is Elliott Gould, Caulfield, is arrived at Flat Rock. There we go. Authentic frontier town. So he's looking round, and I bet is it that? Right. I bet that's where he gets shot at. And I bet that's where it hits. Shall we see? Ah, quite close. So somebody shot at him, and he hits the ground, and then we hear a oh, excuse me. And then we hear a car starting up and driving away. So they're either really bad assassin, or not finishing the job and making sure, or they were just warning him off. Which is why I wonder, were they planning actually to kill them, or just give them new identities and threaten them and say, go live your life somewhere else? I don't know, but anyway. But anyway, he's not dead. They missed, and he's fine. Meanwhile, the helicopters fly over this little mound of. They do that. Look where they come too far. Like, look, obviously one helicopter's closer than the other there, isn't it? But have they given it all that? Don't know. It's just a visual, isn't it? It's just a visual. Anyway, so they fly over there, and then we see he's ahead of them. See, he's clever. He's got all his survival skills. Meanwhile, back in Houston, Hal Holbrook comes to see Kay, and he's telling her. This is where the kids say, call him Uncle Jim. Even though he's evil. He's saying there's going to be a service on Tuesday. I think he says Tuesday. Let's say tomorrow. It might be tomorrow. There's going to be a service in Houston. The president's going to be there, and he wants Kay to go with him. I think he's got designs on Kay myself, but anyway, he wants her to go with him. So, it'd be good, for you to be there and all that for the the press sort of thing. Make NASA look good, I suppose. So she says yes. Eventually, she says yes. So, there you go. I'll go. She says there. Oh, now a son knows, Charles Jr. He knows that his dad's passed away. She says he's being quiet. You know, he's being strong. But the little girl, she doesn't know, and that's where she's saying, "My dad went to Mars," and then he said, "Yes, he did." Right, who's this? Is this OJ? Yes, this is OJ. There he goes, falling into a dried up riverbed, and he tries to dig a hole to get water, but it doesn't work. So there's no water. Must have drunk all his water out of his can. Then he thinks he sees some buzzards in the sky. In a minute. Oh, maybe later. It must be later. He's having a snooze in the meantime. This is Sam Waterston, Pete Willis, not the ex-guitarist from Def Leppard, climbing a mountain. There we go. And there's James Brolin as Charles Brubaker walking. Oh, actually, I think somebody's being caught now, haven't we? We see a flare go up, I think, do we? Maybe not. Yes, they've got someone. Which one have they got? Did they get him first? Or have I gone too far? Oh, yes. They get him first. You see some... is this it? Oh, I've gone too far again. There we go. If I go back again. He thinks he sees some buzzards. Oh, but it turns out they morph into them helicopters. I didn't see it. Try and go back again. There we go. I got to get to the bird. Got to get the bird. There we go. And the birds morph into helicopters. There you go. So they've got him. He sets his flare off. Look, he gets it out. Look, and Brubaker sees it. And it makes a noise. The flares make noises. I've no idea. You see, can you see it there? Just see it flare there. And you hear it. Do they do that? I've no idea. I don't know anything about flares. Yes, he wants to make love to that mountain. Just like Kirk in Star Trek 5. So they've caught John Walker, US Patriot, not US Patriot, US agent. They've caught him. Got OJ first. Not the first time he's been caught by, never mind, the authorities. Right, here's Sam Waterston climbing this Pete Willis. Though there's some signal flares do. Oh, no. Yes, a bit of a whistle. Yes, okay. Fair enough. He's climbing up this mountain, telling a joke as he goes about this fella that goes to Europe and he phones home to see how everybody is, and his brother says, "Your cat's dead." He says, "You can't just tell me that." He says, "You've got to, break it to me easily." Saying, the cat was on the roof and it got stuck in a tree and the firemen came out and it got the cat, but then it fell out of the tree and dropped the cat, and they had to take the cat to the vets, and but there was nothing they could do, and all that. The cat passed away and all that. You got to say it like that. So he says, "So how's Mom?" And his brother says, "Well, she's on the roof," and that's how the joke ends. Hang on. That's how the joke ends. Maybe it's not yet. Maybe it's in a bit. All right, because they're phoning him to tell him that they found John Walker. So he says, "Look, south and west." For the others, there you go. Right, Elliott Gould. I've told that joke too early. Never mind. Elliott Gould is back to see Kay, and he's asking her about Flat Rock. He doesn't tell her that somebody's taking a shot at him. He's back asking her about Flat Rock, and she said, "Well, they only stayed there a day because the kid got ill, but they had a tour of the town, and then they took some films, some home movies. He's not so smart climbing a freaking mountain." I don't know. It's desperate, isn't he? Anyway, where were we? She shows him the home movies. "May I see them?" So there we go. Pardon me. And while they were there, they were filming a movie. And Charles said, at the time, Brubaker said, "It's amazing." There you go. He couldn't get over how something so fake could look so real. So there you go. So that was his clue that he gave to him, and obviously he remembered that from a year ago. I can't remember stuff from yesterday, but I'm not an astronaut. There he's telling his joke as he's climbing. There we go. How's everything at home? Climbing his mountain. Licking the mountain almost. It's a giant salt lick. And so he gets up eventually. He cracks the punchline. She's on the roof. But as he says it, he sees the helicopters are there and it echoing, she's on the roof. And these J's arrived. Hello, friends. Late as usual, damn job. Yes, well, that's what happens when you have jobs. They get in the way of life. Not that this is life, it's just me talking. So Pete Willis, ex-guitarist for Def Leppard, is being caught. So he lets off his flare. There you go. So he lets off his flare. So we know 2 of them have been caught. But have they been killed? We presume so, because later on they start shooting at Brubaker. But we don't hear gunshots. We can hear that going, but we don't hear gunshots. So they've just throttled him or something. Or they just bundled them in the helicopter and they're going to take him back somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, so here we get a split diopter shot of so they could have that photo of them being friends in focus and also him being in focus in the foreground. Don't like split diopters. Just a personal thing, but there we go. Brubaker's going west. Right, this is where he's in his office and he gets called to see his editor, who is played by what's his face? Oh God, I forgot his bloody name now. David Doyle, I think. I think it's David Doyle. Yes, it is. I always mix him up with bloody Tom Bosley. From Happy Days. David Doyle. Was really good, really hilarious in this, I think. Makes me laugh in this. He gets called to see him. There he is. How nice of you to join us here, he says, and he's the gruff editor. And always cracking jokes at him. And Caulfield says, he's got a big story, and he calls him Scoop Caulfield, because he's obviously done that before, and he doesn't believe him. He says, you've got to go to Galveston to cover a big story there. There's a train that's going to blow up. He says, I can't go to Galveston, and then tells him about his friend that disappeared, and there you go, that he's never existed, and. Then he talks about somebody tampered with his car, and he says, the police said there was nothing wrong with it. So he just thinks he just drove his car into a bridge, off a bridge into the river. And then he tells him about somebody shot at him, and he says, when? He says, yesterday. He says, thank God I have an alibi. So that made me laugh. Anyway, if I were the baddie, I'd tell them just to apprehend until only one remains. Don't want to frighten the quarry. Yeah, that makes sense. Like I said, we didn't hear any gunshots, did we? So, unless they're silenced. Anyway, there you go. Thank God I've got an alibi. So this is where he's telling him to, he's got to get to Galveston. He's telling him he don't like him. He's not a good reporter. So he's just going to go to Galveston. He says, I can't. He says, you've got to give me a good editor. Says you've got to give me 48 hours, kid, or you're out of here. And he says, no, I'm going to give you 24 hours. So there you go. So he's got 24 hours to find out what's going on to get his story. Anyway, so we see him. I presume this is his house now. We're at his home. And he goes in, looks in his medicine cabinet, and we see all that he's got in there is some mouthwash and toothpaste. And he goes in, makes himself a drink, goes back into his bedroom. Then the feds burst in, and they plant some cocaine in his medicine cabinet. So they've got a warrant to search his premises. I've seen him in stuff before, but I don't know his name. Does it say? Does it say his name? Federal agent, maybe it'd say, because I don't think it tells his name. No, don't know. Never mind. Not that bothered. Yes. Maybe they used harpoons on them. Oh dear. Anyway, so the framing him for possession of cocaine. So he said, you put that there. And he calls them, you mothers. There you go. So they arrest him. So he's in jail. So now his editor, I forgot the name of his editor already, David Doyle, Walter Lachlan. So Walter comes and bails him out and fires him. There you go, says, you're fired. I love that so much. I'm going to say it again. You're fired. Go on, say it again. There you go. You're through. So he's happy. So he phones Karen Black. She comes. What's her character name? Karen Black. Where is she? Judy Drinkwater. Judy, that's a right name, isn't it? Oh dear. He phones her, and she's saying, she's fobbed him off all this time, and then as soon as he phones up saying he wants to be bailed out, gets fired, and then he's bailing out of jail or picking up from jail. David Doyle bailed him out, but what's picking up? She goes right over. So she's obviously got feelings for him, but she says, "Oh, there you go." He said, "Don't you want to jump me?" Of course I do. All right, and then he asked her to find out where any military bases in like a 300-mile radius of Houston. And she said, yes, took exhaustive research at 1 a.m. He says, how many others? She said, 1. And it's where her father was stationed. He says, you call that exhaustive research? I said, well, yeah, 1 a.m, and I've got to call me dad. Yes, it is. But he says, that's not it. It's a big Air Force base. I can't remember what they call it. And she says the only other thing is a disused place called Jackson SAC, or whatever, that is not used anymore. So he asks her for money. Says, do you have any money? He says, you want me to pay you? So she's got $100. He's obviously has some money as well on him, as we'll learn later, shortly. But she gives him $100 and a car. So there you go. When they get back, we'll jump each other. So the promise, look, there we go. Right, so off he goes to find this secret base. Wingris says Lachlan with an N. That's it's been a prequel to Babylon 5. Not Lachlan. Anyway, Brew is heading to some mountains, and I think he hears sees the helicopters, or hears them, and he goes and hides in a cave. And this is the famous rattlesnake scene. So he's hiding in this cave, and there's a rattlesnake there. The helicopters are circling, looking for him. So he's got to take care of this rattlesnake. So he takes his bandana off, wraps it around his hand, and basically kills the rattlesnake when it goes to bite him. And bashes it and kills it, and then eats it in. There we go. Cuts it open with his. He ain't got a knife. He's got like a mirror. I think he uses that to cut it open. Don't worry, kids. It's not a real snake he's eating. It's actually raw fish that's inside. Probably some food colouring on, red food colouring, I imagine. Raw fish he's eating. There you go. I'd be like that. I'd be like that with raw fish. Even if it's like. Yes, Petter. Petter. Speaking of that, we're watching The Bourne Legacy, the one with Jeremy. Oh dear, sorry, weather, raining and winding. I think rain's coming down the chimney. That made a loud noise. Where was I? Jeremy Renner in Bourne Legacy. And at the end of that film, at the end of the film, it says, all animal action was monitored by, whatever, the Humane Society. No animals were harmed in the making of this film. At the end of that, it says, some of the animal scenes were monitored by the Humane Society of America, and some animals were not harmed in the making of this movie. And I thought, I wonder which scenes did have animals harmed. But there is a scene showing some wolves getting a deer, so maybe it's that they're on about. Actual footage. Anyway, but Josh says snake is okay, but hunting rattlers is scary but fun. I believe you 100%. No, it was just the weather. It was the weather. Like I say, it's been really windy. We're in the midst of Storm Debbie, DEBI, not just Debbie from Debbie Does Dallas or whatever. DEBI, Storm Debbie, and it's really windy and it's raining. I think it was coming down the chimney. And it was making a noise behind me. Anyway, where were we? Right, so he's eating his raw snake. So there we go. There you go. I'd be throwing up. Jackson Army Air Base. I thought it said SAC. Or maybe it was the first place that she mentioned where her dad was stationed. Yeah, maybe it was that. Anyway, closed in 1947. Maybe because of the Roswell incident. Who knows? Which were in New Mexico, not Texas. Yes, Debbie does Yorkshire. She is doing. Right, so Caulfield arrives here and you can just drive up to it, you know, even though it's not in use, like obviously you can just drive up to it. So, you know, it must be, and there's nobody there guarding it anymore, but there's still all the lights there. They haven't done a very good job of cleaning up anyway, and there's nobody about because there's left lots of red sand about. There you go. They haven't exactly done a good job, have they? Haven't exactly done a good. And he finds something that Brubaker's left as a clue. There you go. It's got his name on it because it's from K. Brew from K. And he's left that there. I presume he's left it on purpose as a clue, but whoever cleaned it up didn't find it. But Elliott Gould did. So he goes running out because he knows now they're all faked. Anyway, there's a storm. Maybe this is Storm Debbie, look. And he's got to dig in as Brubaker to ride out that storm. Now this is where Telly Savalas enters the picture. I don't like Telly Savalas. I never have. I didn't like him in Kojak. I've never liked him. Didn't like him in Horror Express. Didn't like him in The Dirty Dozen. I just don't like Telly Savalas. I don't like his bloody singing. Worse than mine. But he got big bucks for it. Anyway, so he arrives. There we go. He's called, I can't remember the name of his character. It's like Ablane or something. Albane, that's it. So they have some banter. That's it. It's a good script. I do like the script for this film. There's a lot of good banter in it, and it's very amusing. It's saying, you know, are you in charge? He says, see that sign, A and A. Guess which A I am. He says the first one. He says wrong. He says, do we get another guess? He says, go on then. So the second one, wrong again. I'm both. The second one was from his son, but he went off to become a lawyer, and I think he's a pervert. That's what he says. Anyway, there you go. That's where all that look. So he took the A away. So he wants to hire his plane. He says, how much to charge to Dusterfield? He says, $25. And he says, okay. He says, that'll be $100. He says, you're supposed to be 25. He says, well, obviously you don't want a field dusting. You're not a poor farmer, so you can afford $100. Remember, he just had to borrow $100 off Karen Black. But Kolchak is greater than Kojak. Yes, I would agree. Is that greater than? I always get mixed up the greater than and less than. I never could get angry at school with that symbol. Could never remember which were which. I'll say Kolchak is greater than Kojak because that is my opinion too. Anyway, where were we? Oh, I remember he just had to borrow $100 from Karen Black, and he ended up charging $125. Says because you agreed to $100 too quickly, so you can afford it. But well, maybe he couldn't. That's why I don't like Terry Savalas. Terry, who's Terry Savalas? Telly Savalas. Anyway, so he hires his plane for $125 in 1977 money. So off they go flying. I don't know he knows which way to look. I don't know. But in the end, they just stumble across the two baddie helicopters. Anyway, but that's by the by. Anyway, this Scorpion arrives on Brubaker. There it is. The alligator eats the grater. Is that supposed to be an easy way to remember it? I don't know. I've got to think of it like that. I don't know. Anyway, right. Scorpion. So anyway, that's it. The scorpions arrived, and it doesn't sting him. You know, it walks on his face, but he gets up, and then he looks round, and as luck would have it, he's right by a gas station. So it must have been a storm where he couldn't see his hand in front of his face because there's a bloody gas station right there, an abandoned one. Meanwhile, they're flying, and they come across those two helicopters. I keep telling him to put his head down. So he. Meanwhile, in Houston, Kay and what's his face, Hal Holbrook, Kellaway. They're getting ready to go to the service, and this is the bit with the music that I said we're right out of The Omen. But anyway, just take my word for it. I think it is. We'll educate you somehow, Steve. Saxophone. I need educating. Anyway, so they get ready to go to the service with the president. Anyway, they see these two helicopters in a minute. Oh, he wants a third of the loot, and then he wants half because he's Telly Savalas, and I don't like him. Breaks into the office. He tries to phone home. He gets some money out of the Coke machine to put in the phone. Phone's home. There's no answer because they've buggered off, haven't they? They've gone to the service. There you go. They find the helicopters. Just stumble across these two helicopters. And the two helicopters just find that there's a bright red aeroplane flying really close to them. But anyway, whatever. So he's phoning home, and they've gone. So he sits down dejected, and then the two helicopters arrive. You see him in the background there. There they are, look, arriving. And he notices them, so he gets ready. There you go, doing that, looking at each other again. The plane flies over. They see that the pilots have got out, and Telly Savalas can see that they've got guns. They must have been holding them out like that. There you go. Now he wants half the loot because they've got guns. So Brubaker, there you go, they look in the window. Brubaker hits one with a tire iron, as you call them in America. Yes, who loves you, baby? His bloody lollipop. Anyway, his tire iron. What do we call them? What do we call them here now? Wheel brace. We call them wheel braces in the UK. Anyway, whacks one. They come in the door. Come on, when you're ready. There you go. Bang, gives one a clout. Luckily had his helmet on. And he leaps through the window, stuntman style, and runs down the road. But luckily the plane's landing Indiana Jones style, opening a snake in there. He's saying, come on, get on the plane. So goes running. See, they're shooting at him now. So obviously missing. And so he's hanging on does a bit of wing walking now. He's hanging on the wing of the plane as they're doing all these maneuvers. So he's really holding on. Must have like Velcro or something sticking him to the wing of the plane. So because they're chasing him in the helicopters now. And they do a bit of flying through like the Grand Canyon sort of thing in a minute. Here we are. Right. So he's hanging on there onto that wing, and all his hands are bleeding. You see all the blood coming through his fingers holding onto that wire. And they're chasing him. It's time to keep his head down. And eventually, they're shooting at him, by the way. They've got guns on these helicopters, so sort of thing going on. And at least it's indie style and not North by Northwest style. That's another cool film, is that, North by Northwest? Yes, gets shot at him from that sort of plane, doesn't it? At that bus stop in the middle of nowhere, on that crossroads. Cool film. Cary Grant. Where were we? Right, so they're shooting at him, and then he says, when I tell you, pull that lever, and he basically sprays them with the crop dusting stuff in a minute. Oh, the helicopter's trying to knock them down. They're flying over them, trying to force them down, but then he pull the lever, so he pulls it now, and then there you go. All the stuff, all the crop dusting stuff, so they can't see where they're going now. And then they crash. They crash into the side of the mountain because and they've saved, and he calls them perverts to Teddy Savalas, so they're flying off, and they saved the day. Then we cut to the service with the president talking. There you go. They've got the eternal flame for the men of Capricorn One, but he's saying that they're all heroes, blah blah blah. But then come running through. You think there'd be a wider. The president's there. You think there'd be a wider security circle, wouldn't you? You wouldn't think they get that close in a car, would you? As the president's there, particularly a bright red one. But anyway, they get out and they come running in slow motion in a minute as the music swells, as Jerry Goldsmith's score swells. See, if they had a harpoon, that would not have been needed. Waste of fertilizer. Oh dear. Harpoons are multi-functional. Anyway, so they come running through the gravestones in slow motion. Look, all smiling at one another for some reason. Don't know why. It's supposed to be quite somber affair, isn't it? But for some reason, they're smiling at one another. Everybody looks at them. They can see, oh, it's Brubaker. Look, it's all smiling. Look, it's slow motion. And there's the president looking, what the? And all the news cameras turn their cameras towards Brubaker. And obviously, Hal Holbrook thinks, well, that's it. I'm going to jail. And so we end on a bit more really slow motion, and not a very flattering, not a very flattering freeze frame ending with James Brolin giving it and Elliott Gould behind going. Oh dear. But that's it. That's the end of the film, and then we have some more music. Din 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 din. That's the end. It's a cool film. It's almost perfect. It's one of those films that you can't really pick apart, really, apart from the Apollo stuff going to Mars. That wouldn't work. But structurally, it's a pretty good film, and I say you can't fault it. And it's got a good tight script and some nice stunts and great musical score, and it's really, really good. So there we go. And not a harpoon in sight. But Telly drops it from a 10 out of 10. Well, I say it's perfect. I won't give it a 10 out of 10. I'll give it like an 8 or a 9. It's a cool film. Probably leftover DDT fertilizer. I imagine so. Don't know. Don't know anything about fertilizer. But I don't like Telly Savalas. But he's okay in the film, I suppose. His character. But I just don't like Telly Savalas. It does me head in. In every film, he's just being Telly Savalas. He's not being a character. He's just being himself. But fertilizer, hardly know her. Oh dear. We want movies with harpoons. I'll have to see if I can find one. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. They've got harpoons in that. No. Moby Dick. Let's see if I can find that one. Moby Dick. Not as good as it could have been. 8 out of 10. No harpoons. Dropped it 2 points. No harpoons. Oh dear. I'll have to watch Moby Dick. Is it James Mason that played? No, not James Mason. The other fella, Gregory Peck, isn't it? Gregory Peck as Ahab. Isn't there a harpoon in some of the Jaws or Deep Blue Sea? Probably. I don't know, harpoon or spear gun. I don't know. Is there a difference? Yeah, handheld ones, spear guns. We saw one in saw a spear gun in Friday the 13th, Part 8, a while back. On my Friday night appointment with Fear. So there we go. Anyway, so that's the end of Capricorn One. Really good film. Like I say, did it spawn the Apollo hoax conspiracy? No, but it kind of helped it along, didn't it? It popularized it. There's also a 2009 horror movie called Harpoon that says the Texas Chainsaw Massacre on a whaler. All right, cool. Cool. Is it Norwegian? Because I need Norwegian and Japanese do whaling in it these days. Anyway, what was I saying? Can't remember. Anyway, yeah, so that's it. So yeah, it's cool film. It's a cool film's Capricorn One. And did it spawn the Apollo hoax things? You know, no, but it popularized it and brought it to the public attention. You know, could something so big be faked, and would everybody believe it? And you know, no, not everybody believe it, but enough people would believe it to make it true. So there. So I'll just leave that hanging in the air. But I believe we went to the moon. Anyway, Icelandic. I didn't know. Does Iceland do whaling as well? I didn't know. I know Norwegians do, and the Japanese, you know, for science. Anyway. Right, so we'll leave it there, because it's been a long one tonight, hasn't it? 2 hours tonight. We'll leave it there. What's coming up next? Friday. Well, Wednesday's my news stream. And Friday night, Appointment with Fear. This week is Byzantium. There we go. Neil Jordan film about vampires. They're not vampires with fangs, by the way. They have like a nail that grows. I don't know if it's a little finger or the thumb. I can't remember. A nail that grows, and they do that and then drink the blood. Still cool. It's a cool film. And Gemma Arterton's in it, and she's amazingly gorgeous. So there we go. Anyway, you're still talking about harpoons in the chat. Right. Never heard of that. Sounds like a whale of a time. For anyone looking, I guess this is the full title. Harpoon, the Reykjavik Whale Watching Massacre, 2009. That sounds fascinating, doesn't it? What's the northernmost capital in the world? Reykjavik, Iceland, full stop. That's a Young Ones joke. If you used to watch the Young Ones. Anyway, right. So we'll leave it there. So thanks all the Joshers in the chat and DJ. I'm guessing the J in DJ stands for Josh. Might not, but I'm just guessing it does. So thanks all for helping out in the chat. As I always say, you make it a billion times better than me just whittering on about a film in a banal style. Oh dear. Joshua Kanapke says, daughter and I saw Exorcist Believer yesterday. Solid. All right. I've heard it's not very good. So I was putting off watching it, to be honest, because I didn't like the trailers, you know. And so, but anyway, so I'm going to go now because everybody's saying goodbye. So right, so I'm going to go and sort some grub out for me and Aidan. We've got to be up early in the morning because he's got an hospital appointment. He's fine. It's just a test. He's fine. But that's tomorrow. To be up early is to be there for 8:15 in the morning. And it's away. You know, it's in a hospital in another town, so we have to set off early. Right, so we'll leave it there. So thanks for watching. Wherever you are, look after each other, and until next time, I'll see you there.